Here is the exact conversation that you need to have with yourself if you have a goal or a project that you have been failing to show up for consistently. Or to be more precise, here is the exact script for the internal dialogue that you need to have in order to move forward. For some context, I have been talking in multiple of my previous videos about the necessity of constructive conversations with yourself. And a lot of people have been asking me to give some examples. So here it is, a constructive conversation with yourself related to consistency. And even better is that consistency is one of the main topics that I have been writing and talking about for years. And of course, consistency is the main component that either prevents people from reaching their goals or is the main tool for reaching their goals. So if you have a project or a goal that you're struggling to be consistent in, here it is. Here is the internal dialogue that you need to have. I'm going to be reading it because why would I memorize all of this if I have it written down for myself and for yourself? First, we are acknowledging the situation. I have been failing to do this thing consistently or consistently enough. It seems like I'm not prioritizing it. Now the question, or the first question, am I not prioritizing it because it simply isn't and shouldn't be my priority right now at this moment in my life? Okay. Or is it actually a personally relevant goal or a project that I want to prioritize, that deserves to be a priority, but I have to get better at managing my time, energy, attention, and internal drive? Okay, so now we have two options. Either we are recognizing that this thing isn't our priority and or shouldn't be our priority, and therefore we haven't been prioritizing it, and then therefore we haven't been showing up for it consistently enough. And the other option is, no, this thing should be a priority, it deserves to be a priority, it is a personally relevant goal or project. However, I haven't been treating it as my priority, or the results of my showing up speak as if I haven't been prioritizing it and showing up enough, because I'm not good enough at managing my time, attention, energy, internal drive. We could even add willpower. Okay, now based off of these two questions, we ask, if the former is true, that this thing shouldn't be or isn't a priority, why wouldn't I allow myself to give up? Here is where a lot of people are stuck. Why wouldn't you allow yourself to give up? Why keep talking about how, oh, I want to do this, but I'm struggling to do it? What's preventing me from admitting this goal or project isn't near the top of my priority list right now? Again, right now, at least at this stage in my life. And I need to either let it go or scale it down significantly. What is preventing me from doing that, from admitting this? Is it pride? Is it the idea of the expectation of other people, or a very clear knowledge of the expectation of other people? Is it a strong desire to impress someone else, but the desire to impress someone else still isn't strong enough to make this a priority? A lot of potential answers that only you can answer for yourself in the context of your life and your situation. However, if the latter is true, if this thing is a personally relevant project or goal that should be a priority, but you haven't been managing your time, attention, energy, drive, willpower efficiently or well enough, the questions are, how can I best support myself in gaining momentum instead of immediate results? Because what I'm lacking right now is momentum. I'm not liking results. Results are supposed to come down the line. If I have been struggling to be consistent in something or at something, I'm not liking results. I'm lacking momentum. So how can I best support myself in gaining momentum rather than results? This question alone can change your life, or at least change your life in that specific aspect of the goal or project that you are pursuing, because you start realizing momentum right now and for a decent amount of time is the only result there is. I'm either moving forward with small steps and sometimes slightly larger steps and sometimes really big steps. I'm either moving or I'm not. And those big payoffs, those results, they come later. However, that's only one question. The second question is, what are the self-imposed, unrealistic demands, expectations, routines, and structures that have sabotaged me in the past? So, self-imposed, unrealistic demands. You have to do this for 5 hours per day. Expectations. You will show up at your best every day. Routines. Waking up at 5:30 and again putting in 5 hours of work and having 5 different activities and 5 different tasks and 5 different or 10 different hobbies in the day. Structure. Overly complex. I'm going to make a YouTube video that is going to have a massive amount of editing, and it is going to consist of 5 different shootings at 5 different locations, rather than setting up a tripod and a camera and reading from the other phone. Actually, not setting up a camera, setting up a phone and reading from another phone. By the way, for those who are watching first time, this is a specific instance when I'm reading. My pride is now asking me to say I do my videos without having to read a script. Putting that aside, getting back to the point, I gave you some examples of unrealistic and self-imposed. That's important. Only later, or as something secondary, can we deal or should we deal with those things that are imposed on us from others or by others. Way more important to deal with self-imposed, unrealistic expectations, demands, routines, and structures. So, I will just in case, repeat the last 2 questions or the last 2 set of questions, because we hopefully we remember where the main intersection is. Either this thing doesn't deserve to be a priority and shouldn't be a priority, or this thing should be a priority but I'm struggling to treat it as a priority. So to repeat the last set of questions once again. If the former is true, if this thing shouldn't be a priority in my life right now, why wouldn't I allow myself to give up? What is preventing me from admitting to myself, now I quote myself, this goal or project isn't near the top of my priority list right now, and I need to either let it go or scale it down significantly. Okay, and if the latter is true, if this thing is and should be your priority, but you're failing to treat it as such, how can I best support myself in gaining momentum rather than immediate results? And what are the self-imposed, unrealistic demands, expectations, routines, and structures that have sabotaged me in the past? I know if you sit with yourself to go through this script, this internal dialogue, you will come out on the other side with immense clarity and also a lot of energy freed up to be used in a better way, either to be used for something else if you decide to let this thing go, or to be used in approaching your project or goal in a smarter way, in a more efficient way, and hopefully in a more enthusiastic way, because you will be pursuing momentum rather than immediate results, and you will be dealing and tackling some of these unrealistic demands, expectations, and challenging some of these routines and structures that you thought you could follow. One last thing. This last part of actually analyzing how to manage your resources, your internal resources better, in order to execute better, in order to treat your thing as a priority, we will continue this discussion, because this is part of the skillful use of your will. Also something that I talked in previous videos, something that people got interested in. So it's not skillful use of the willpower. I sometimes use the word willpower because it clicks with people, it resonates. But the trick is to realize that it's not only willpower. Willpower is one expression of the human will. But human will, as a much broader resource, can be used in more skillful ways, or ways other than just power. So willpower, powering through, forcing through. That is great, immensely useful. One of the most impressive human qualities, forcing through, pushing through when needed, willpower. But the human will can be used in different ways, in more efficient ways, and more skillful ways when needed and when appropriate. So we'll be talking about that. And to give one example of having conversations with yourself, meeting yourself where you are, figuring out, okay, where am I sabotaging myself with unrealistic demands and expectations, and using the will more skillfully. One example is this video, because in the past I wouldn't start recording until I have memorized the script fully, because my pride would say, I know I have the capacity to memorize this, and for whatever reason I want to be the person that just looks at the camera and speaks and doesn't need any cuts, as I will not need in this video, and I haven't used any cuts in the last 60 videos. But additionally, if I want to share something very specific, I want to have it memorized. The cuts so far, interesting exercise for me as a speaking exercise. But why would I, when dealing with something very specific like this script, why would I not allow myself to read it? Well, that's skillful use of the will. Rather than pushing through or powering through, which would mean, okay, let me power through memorizing this as quickly as possible and then record the video. More skillful use of the will was to sit and negotiate with myself and come to terms with the fact that both for myself and for the audience, the best thing to do is to actually read this script so that I can deliver it to you precisely and efficiently. And to acknowledge that my pride has no place in this and cannot get the steering wheel of how I'm doing what I'm doing right now. So, once again, one example that this is working is me recording, I believe it's 60th or 59th video in a row. And I think it's been going decently well. So that's it, friends. You have the script, you have the questions. I know you have the capacity to listen to yourself, ask these questions, and to listen to the answers that will come from within, and give those answers to yourself, and of course then act according to those answers. I would love, love, love to hear your experience or experiences in the comments of what happens when you engage with these questions and how it will affect your journey moving forward. Thank you.